There was a time on Earth when cold wasn't just a season, it was the state of the planet. It did not last for months or years or decades, but centuries. This was the Great Ice Age. Striking during the time period known as the Pleistocene Epoch, this ice age started about 2.6 million years ago and lasted until roughly 11,000 years ago. It changed the entire face of the Earth. Ice sheets formed and slowly expanded, covering large parts of the land. Glaciers moved inch by inch, reshaping valleys, rivers, and coastlines. It was a slow transformation, but a powerful one. Life didn't stop, but it had to adapt. Landscapes were carved, species evolved, and entire ecosystems shifted in response. Understanding this time means understanding how today's world came to be, not through sudden change, but through cold pressure and time. At that time, global temperatures were about 11 degrees Fahrenheit lower than they are today. It might seem like a blank, lifeless time, an immense, frozen desert of nothing but silence. But that silence was a lie. Beneath it stirred stories beyond imagination. Because in truth, it was a kingdom teeming with beings so fierce and colossal, they challenge everything we think we know about life on Earth. At that time, the land was shaped and ruled by giant animals. They dominated the ecosystems for thousands of years, long before humans ever set foot in these places. Life here was unforgiving. The rules were simple, brutal. Eat, but don't get eaten. Stay warm or die. It took sheer energy just to survive one more day. To find a meal, one had to outwit creatures honed by 100,000 generations in the art of evasion. Escaping predators meant sensing a shadow in a blizzard or a tremor in the already frozen ground, and knowing that death itself was closing in. Each day was a battle against the cold, against hunger, and against the ruthless predators of this endless winter. There were no second chances. A single mistake meant being consumed by the cold or by something far worse. This was a land dominated by large animals, many of them covered in thick fur to survive the cold. These species evolved to meet the harsh demands of their environment. Their movements shaped the landscape over time. As they migrated, they created natural pathways, and their feeding habits helped shape the structure of forests and grasslands. But how do we know all this? Because today, we find their bones sealed in frozen earth, entombed in the shadowy depths of primeval caves. Hunters and prey alike, preserved across tens of thousands of years. These fossils are hints from a story gone awry, echoes from a world that once was, a tale of strength and endurance for survival fought on a global scale. To study these creatures is to glimpse another form of life, another version of Earth itself. It's a chance to witness the glory of a lost world. In this documentary, we'll journey into the frozen depths of that ancient greatness. We will walk among the titans that ruled the Ice Age, uncovering the secrets of their lives, their battles, and the mystery of why, after millions of years of dominance, they disappeared forever. These are the true stories of the rulers of the frozen world. One of the most fearsome among them was built like no predator we know today. As heavy as a polar bear and far more solidly built than any modern cat. It carried two long, curved teeth, nearly 7 inches in length, sharp and strong, made for bringing down large prey. This was the saber-toothed cat, a dominant hunter of its time. Its real name is Smilodon, and it was one of the most famous and formidable predators to have ever walked the earth. Smilodon belonged to an extinct subfamily of saber-toothed cats called Megalania. This group split from the ancestors of today's big cats over 20 million years ago. Unlike modern cats, members of this lineage evolved long, blade-like canine teeth and powerful forelimbs for specialized hunting. Smilodon was one of the last and most advanced forms in this group, dominating the Americas until the end of the Ice Age. Its closest living relatives are thought to be within the Felidae family, but no modern cat shares its extreme adaptations. 3 main species are known to us: the smaller S. gracilis, the well-known S. fatalis, and the truly immense S. populator of South America. Let's get one thing straight, though. Despite its common name, the saber-toothed cat was not a tiger. It was a unique kind of cat, built for a very specific, brutal way of life. Its body was incredibly muscular, with exceptionally well-developed forelimbs and a thick, powerful neck. The biggest species, Smilodon populator, could weigh up to 400 kilograms. That's nearly 900 pounds, and stood 120 centimeters tall at the shoulder. This wasn't a cat built for long chases. Its robust build indicates it was designed for stealth and ambush, not sustained speed. Smilodon was a patient stalker that relied on surprise and overwhelming force. And then there were those teeth. The name Smilodon itself comes from the Greek words for scalpel and tooth, a perfect description. Saber-toothed tigers' canine teeth were significantly larger than those of modern-day tigers. The canines of Smilodon could reach up to 7 to 8 inches, around 18 to 20 centimeters in length, which is about twice as long as the average human hand from wrist to fingertip. These teeth were also much thicker and more knife-like than those of modern cats. But those iconic, curved canines were surprisingly fragile in one sense. They were long and slender, not round and robust like the teeth of a modern lion. If a Smilodon bit down on bone, those sabers could snap. This meant it had to be a precision killer. Saber-toothed tigers, particularly Smilodon, were incredibly deadly predators, primarily due to their specialized hunting style and powerful canines. They used their long, serrated canine teeth to inflict deep, slashing wounds, especially to the throats and bellies of prey, causing rapid blood loss. But its bite force was actually shockingly weak, estimated at only about 120 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, a modern tiger has a bite force of over 1,000 pounds per square inch. But Smilodon had a secret weapon. Its jaw could open to an incredible 120 degrees, almost twice as wide as a lion's. This was crucial for positioning its elongated canines for a perfect killing bite. They were powerful predators, but not particularly fast. They were likely capable of bursts of speed around 30 miles per hour. This is slower than modern tigers and lions, which can reach speeds of 30 to 50 miles per hour. But the Smilodon was a patient predator. It often stayed hidden in tall grass or behind cover, waiting quietly for the right moment. Its prey was large bison, camels, and other heavy herbivores that roamed the Ice Age plains. When the time came, the Smilodon didn't chase. It launched a short, sudden attack, using its strong front limbs to grab and hold the animal in place. These limbs, along with a sturdy and flexible neck, were its main tools in the struggle. It needed to bring the prey down fully before it could use its long canines to finish the hunt. Once the animal was held fast, the Smilodon would deliver the killing bite. With its jaw gaping wide, it would use its powerful neck muscles to drive its long canines deep into the soft throat or belly of its prey. It wasn't about crushing bone, it was a canine shear bite, slicing through vital blood vessels. The end was swift and bloody. Life for a Smilodon was tough. As an apex predator, it faced few direct threats, but competition was fierce, both with other giants of the era like the dire wolf and American lion, and even within its own species. Fossilized skulls of Smilodon populator bear holes that align precisely with the curved canines of fellow Smilodon, suggesting intense battles between them. Despite their strength, life expectancy wasn't boundless. Studies estimate Smilodon lived between 20 and 40 years in the wild. Survival demanded not just brute power, but endurance through competition, injury, and the harsh world of the Ice Age. Some scientists believe they were solitary hunters. However, their specialized hunting method makes a strong case for a social life. The need to completely immobilize their prey to protect their delicate fangs suggests that cooperative pack hunting would have been a huge advantage. Hunting in packs would have made it easier to subdue massive prey and reduce the risk of a fatal tooth fracture. A social group could also protect the young and share food, which was crucial in such a competitive environment. For nearly 2.5 million years, Smilodon roamed the Americas, but its time came to an end. Around 10,000 years ago, it disappeared, along with most of the other giant mammals of North and South America. The exact cause isn't known for sure, but the leading ideas point to a perfect storm of problems. Its extinction coincided with major climate change that altered its habitat. More importantly, the giant animals that it depended on for food started to disappear. The mammoths, the giant sloths, and the massive bison vanished from the landscape. Some were likely impacted by the changing environment, while others were hunted by expanding human populations. For the Smilodon, this was a catastrophe. It was a specialist, perfectly designed to hunt large prey. Its powerful, heavy build, once its greatest strength, has now become a weakness. It was too slow to catch the swifter animals that remained. The saber-toothed cat, the ultimate Ice Age ambusher, was left behind. It slowly starved into extinction, and its reign ended by a changing world that no longer had a place for it. As the saber-tooth fades into the snow-covered forests behind us, our journey moves out onto the vast, wind-swept plains of the Ice Age. Beneath a pale, endless sky, another giant ruled. Not a predator, but a towering herbivore that helped shape the world around it. This was the age of the woolly mammoth. Mammoths primigenius, as science knows it, is an icon of the frozen world, and for good reason. Mammoths primigenius belonged to the Elephantidae family, the same family as today's elephants. Its evolutionary roots trace back to African ancestors nearly 5 million years ago. Over time, some of these early elephants migrated into Eurasia and the Americas, gradually adapting to colder climates. Those adaptations gave rise to one of the Ice Age's most iconic creatures. These magnificent animals were a testament to survival in extreme conditions, closely related to the Asian elephants we know today. They stood as tall as a modern African elephant, with large males reaching up to 3.5 meters, or 11 feet, at the shoulder, and weighing as much as 5,400 kilograms, a staggering 12,000 pounds. But it was their remarkable adaptations to the bitter cold that truly set them apart. Their bodies were covered in a thick coat of brown hair, which included an outer layer of long, shaggy guard hairs and a dense, shorter undercoat for insulation. They even had specialized fat deposits, including a noticeable hump on their back, which served as a crucial energy reserve for surviving the long, harsh winters. Every part of them was designed to conserve heat. Their ears and tails were significantly shorter than those of modern elephants, a clever evolutionary trick to minimize heat loss and prevent frostbite in the frigid Arctic air. Their immense tusks were another defining feature. Their tusks varied in size but could grow quite long, with the longest known reaching up to 15 feet and weighing 86 kilograms. They were generally longer and more curved than those of modern elephants. These weren't just for show. Males, with their large, curved tusks, likely used them in dramatic battles for mates. But for both sexes, the tusks were essential tools for survival. They used them to dig through heavy snow and ice, clearing the way to find the buried grasses and nutritious flowering plants that other herbivores couldn't reach. This allowed them to thrive in the cold steppe environment they called home. And home was a vast territory. Woolly mammoths roamed across the immense plains of Eurasia and North America. At the peak of the last ice age, their range stretched from Spain all the way to Illinois in North America. Much like modern elephants, woolly mammoths are believed to have lived in highly social, matriarchal family groups. The herd would have been led by a wise, older female who guided her family, protected the young, and passed down vital knowledge across generations, the best migration routes, and the safest places to find food. This collective intelligence was a powerful defense, allowing them to stand together, to mourn their dead, and to survive. Their lifespan was similar to that of elephants today, around 60 years, a life story that could be read by counting the growth rings inside their tusks. Despite their size and strength, they were not without enemies. A healthy adult mammoth was a formidable opponent, capable of charging at speeds up to 42 kilometers per hour. Even these giants lived surprisingly long lives. Columbian mammoths, their continental cousin, may have reached around 80 years, a lifespan rivaling or exceeding that of today's elephants. But the young, the old, or the sick were vulnerable. They were preyed upon by packs of wolves, cave hyenas, and the great felines of the age, like the saber-toothed cat. However, their most significant predator was a new and highly intelligent one: early humans. Our ancestors hunted mammoths extensively, not just for their meat, but for their bones and tusks, which they skillfully crafted into tools, art, and even shelters. The mammoths were a cornerstone of the Ice Age ecosystem, their grazing patterns shaping the landscape, and their bodies providing sustenance for countless other species. But as the world warmed, the vast frozen grasslands they depended on were replaced by forests and wetlands, shrinking their habitat dramatically. At the same time, human hunting pressure was immense. It was likely a devastating combination of these two forces that led to their widespread decline. Yet, that is not the final chapter of their story. Remarkably, small, isolated populations survived for thousands of years longer. On St. Paul Island in Alaska, they held on until about 5,600 years ago. And most famously, on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean, a final herd of woolly mammoths survived until just 4,000 years ago. But this isolation came at a cost. Cut off from the mainland, This small population suffered from inbreeding and accumulated numerous genetic defects. Their final disappearance was sudden, suggesting that after centuries of stability, a single catastrophic event, perhaps a severe winter, a new disease, or the final arrival of humans, delivered the final blow. The story of the woolly mammoth is a powerful lesson, a tale of magnificent adaptation, social complexity, and ultimately a tragic disappearance that shows how even the most towering titans can be brought down by a world in profound change. In the world of the great mammoths, survival was a daily struggle, not just against the cold, but against the hunters that thrived in their shadow. Among the most successful of these was a predator whose name has become legendary. A hunter who moved with intelligence and lived by the unbreakable code of the pack. This was the time of the dire wolf. The dire wolf, known to science as Enochion dirus, roamed the vast landscapes of North and Western South America during the late Pleistocene. And though it wore the familiar shape of a wolf, it was a distinctly different animal from its modern cousins. Genetic studies have revealed a surprising truth. The dire wolf was not a direct ancestor of the gray wolf we know today. It belonged to an ancient lineage that split off millions of years ago, making it a more distant relative, a unique and powerful experiment in the evolution of the canine family. It was larger and more robustly built than the modern gray wolf, weighing up to 68 kilograms, or 150 pounds. It possessed a more massive skull and, most importantly, significantly larger teeth. These weren't just for tearing flesh. They were for crushing bone. This was a key part of its design, powered by a jaw that was a formidable weapon. Its bite force was estimated to be nearly 30% stronger than a modern wolf's, allowing it to shatter the bones of its prey to get to the nutrient-rich marrow inside, a vital advantage when food was scarce. But the dire wolf's greatest strength was not in its body alone, but in its mind. The sheer number of fossils found together, especially in the famous La Brea tar pits of California, strongly supports the idea that these were highly social animals. They lived and hunted in complex, coordinated packs, a brotherhood of hunters that allowed them to tackle prey far larger than any single wolf could hope to bring down. Their targets were the giants of the Ice Age. With relentless endurance, they would pursue ancient bison, camels, and even the formidable ground sloths. They were not the fastest predators, but they could travel for vast distances at a steady lope, waiting for the perfect moment to strike as a unified force. Dire wolves weren't built for speed like modern-day sprinting predators. Their heavier, more muscular frames made them slower over short distances. But what they lacked in velocity, they made up for in endurance. These wolves could travel vast stretches of land in search of prey, using persistence and coordination rather than sudden bursts of speed. This success put them in direct and often brutal competition with the other great carnivores of the era. On the plains of the Pleistocene, a kill was a treasure to be defended. Dire wolf packs would have stood their ground against the fearsome saber-toothed cat and the massive American lion, all vying for the same limited resources. They were superbly adapted to this life, true rulers of the Ice Age terrain. As for lifespan, fossil evidence and comparisons with modern wild canids suggest that dire wolves typically lived around 6 to 8 years in the wild, though some may have lived longer under favorable conditions. So, what happened to this incredibly successful predator? Why did the dire wolf, after flourishing for millions of years, vanish? The end came swiftly, around 11,000 years ago, as the Ice Age drew to a close. Its demise was tied to a lethal combination of factors. Climate change was dramatically altering the landscape, and the large herbivores that the wolves depended on began to disappear. However, the most significant factor may have been the arrival of a new, exceptionally adaptable competitor: humans. Humans also hunted the same large prey, putting immense pressure on the dire wolf's food supply. The fossil record tells a grim story from this final period. A noticeable increase in broken teeth among dire wolf remains suggests they were suffering from intense food scarcity, forced to chew on bones more frequently just to survive. The master of the bone-crushing bite was, in the end, left with nothing but scraps. Unable to adapt to a world with smaller, faster prey, and outcompeted for what remained of the megafauna, the great packs began to fade. The howl of the dire wolf, once a defining sound of the Ice Age, fell silent forever, leaving behind only fossilized bones as a haunting reminder of a lost, ruthless world. The Pleistocene epoch also hosted a creature whose very name conjures images of ancient, dimly lit caverns. The cave bear, Ursus spelaeus. The lineage of the cave bear, along with that of the modern brown bear, can be traced back to the Etruscan bear, Ursus etruscus, which roamed Earth approximately 5.3 million to 100,000 years ago. The last common ancestor shared by cave bears and brown bears existed between 1.2 to 1.4 million years ago, indicating a significant divergence in their evolutionary paths. Subsequent DNA studies have confirmed that the cave bear's evolutionary ties are closer to brown and polar bears than to the American black bear, establishing its unique position within the Ursid family tree. This ancient species inhabited a vast range across Europe and Asia, from the western expanses of Spain and the British Isles, through Central European territories like Germany, Poland, and the Balkans, extending into Romania, Georgia, and parts of Russia, including the Caucasus and even northern Iran. However, their presence was notably absent from regions heavily covered by glaciers, such as Scandinavia and the northern British Isles. The sheer scale of the cave bear was impressive, often rivaling or even exceeding the largest bears alive today. These animals could reach lengths of up to 2 meters, with some estimates pushing that figure to an astonishing 3.5 meters. Standing on its hind legs, a cave bear could measure up to 1.7 meters tall. It was armed with long claws and sharp teeth. Their weight ranged considerably, from a robust 225 kilograms to a massive 500 kilograms, showcasing the substantial build of these prehistoric giants. Physically, they were characterized by a distinctive, broad and domed skull with a steep forehead, a stout body supported by long thighs and massive shins, and feet that turned inward, giving them a powerful brown bear-like skeletal structure. As their name suggests, they likely hibernated for several months during the winter, similar to modern bears, though possibly for a longer duration due to their diet. Caves were crucial for cave bears, not only for hibernation, but also for raising young and protection from the elements. They may have been particularly faithful to specific caves, returning to the same locations year after year. Unlike its modern relatives, this formidable bear spent an extraordinary amount of its life within the subterranean labyrinth of caves, utilizing them for critical periods of hibernation during the unforgiving Ice Age winters. While the ferocious countenance and terrifying bulk of the cave bear might elicit visions of a terrifying hunter, it's believed that cave bears were primarily vegetarian. Like modern panda bears, the teeth of the cave bear were powerful but built for grinding, making them ideal for tearing through and breaking down fiber. Ultimately, the largest influencer in this evolutionary track may have been the cave bear's size. The energy expenditure for active hunting would be impractical, given the sheer bulk of the cave bear. While they technically appear to be omnivorous, and may have sometimes fed on small mammals or fish to supplement their primarily vegetative diet, the cave bear wouldn't have been feeding on humans or similarly sized animals. Due to their immense size, adult cave bears faced few natural predators. However, sick or infirm individuals would have been vulnerable to attacks from pack-hunting wolves and the formidable cave hyenas. Cave hyenas are also believed to have been responsible for the disarticulation and destruction of some cave bear skeletons, particularly at the end of winter when food resources were scarce, indicating their role as scavengers of large carcasses. Intriguingly, the discovery of fully articulated adult cave lion skeletons deep within cave bear dens suggests that these powerful felines may have occasionally attempted to prey on hibernating bears, sometimes dying in the attempt. While their running speed is not precisely known, their robust build and preference for denning suggest they were not built for speed, similar to other large bear species. They are thought to have been as fast as modern grizzly bears, which can reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. It's not entirely clear how long the typical cave bear lived, but it's assumed they didn't usually live for more than 20 years. That's comparable to species like the giant panda, but as much as a decade less than the modern brown bear. The extinction of the cave bear occurred relatively abruptly, around 24,000 to 25,000 years ago, coinciding with the last glacial maximum. The precise reasons for their disappearance are still under scientific discussion, but it is broadly linked to the dramatic climate and environmental changes that characterized that period. These shifts likely impacted their primary food sources and, crucially, the availability of suitable cave sites for hibernation. The story of the cave bear serves as a powerful illustration of how even the most dominant species can succumb to a complex interplay of environmental shifts and ecological pressures. While much of the Ice Age narrative focuses on the glaciated landscapes of the northern continents, the southern hemisphere, specifically Australia, harbored its own unique and equally formidable megafauna. Far from the expanding ice sheets, Australia experienced a different kind of climatic shift during the Pleistocene. Although not directly subjected to continental glaciation, the continent underwent significant environmental changes, marked by periods of increased aridity and shifting vegetation patterns. It was in this distinct and ancient ecosystem that the largest terrestrial lizard known to have ever lived, Megalania or Varanus priscus, reigned supreme. Megalania was a colossal monitor lizard, a true giant among reptiles, and its name, meaning ancient roamer, is highly fitting. This reptilian titan thrived across Australia during the Pleistocene, ranging from approximately 2.5 million years ago until its extinction around 50,000 years ago, though some estimates narrow its presence from 1.6 million to 40,000 years ago. Its closest living relatives are the Komodo dragons of Indonesia, a comparison that helps us conceptualize its immense scale and predatory capabilities, even though Megalania dwarfed even the largest Komodo dragon. Estimates of Megalania's size vary, largely due to the incompleteness of the fossil record, but even conservative figures place it as a creature of immense proportions. Early calculations, based on fragmentary remains, suggested lengths of up to 7 meters, 23 feet. Regardless of the exact measurement, Megalania was undeniably massive. Its weight is equally impressive, with estimates ranging from 97 kilograms for smaller individuals up to 1,940 kilograms for the largest speculated specimens. More conservative and widely accepted weight estimates for a 4.5-meter individual fall between 575 and 1,000 kilograms, making it a truly formidable presence in its environment. Megalania's predatory prowess was enhanced by its powerful bite and, critically, the likely presence of venom. Its jaws were robust, equipped with serrated teeth designed for tearing flesh. Bite force of Megalania ranges from approximately 747 newtons at the anterior of the jaw to a crushing 1,500 newtons at the posterior. However, it was not merely mechanical force that made Megalania so deadly. Recent research, based on the morphology of its skull and teeth, suggests that Varanus priscus possessed venom glands similar to those found in modern venomous lizards such as Komodo dragons. This venom, likely a hemotoxin, would have caused rapid blood pressure drop, paralysis, and inhibition of blood clotting, further debilitating its prey after a bite. This would have made Megalania an efficient bite and weight specialist, delivering a toxic bite and then patiently tracking its incapacitated victim until it succumbed. As the apex predator of the Australian Ice Age ecosystem, Megalania occupied the highest trophic level. Its diet would have consisted primarily of the large mammalian megafauna that populated the continent at the time. This included giant marsupials like Diprotodon, a rhinoceros-sized wombat relative, and various species of giant kangaroos, such as Procoptodon, a short-faced kangaroo that stood over 2 meters tall. Megalania's hunting behavior likely involved an ambush strategy, leveraging its size and venom. It would have lain in wait, using its powerful jaws and serrated teeth to inflict a debilitating bite, then relying on its venom to slowly incapacitate the prey, after which it would consume the animal. For a creature of its size, Megalania was surprisingly agile, though it was not built for high-speed pursuit over long distances. It could reach burst speeds of approximately 9.4 to 10.8 kilometers per hour, which would have been sufficient for short bursts during an ambush. Adults faced very few natural predators, with some competition potentially coming from marsupial lions, large crocodiles, and possibly even instances of cannibalism among Megalania themselves. While its exact lifespan remains unknown, comparisons with modern large monitor lizards suggest Megalania may have lived for 35 to 50 years. The extinction of Megalania around 40,000 to 50,000 years ago remains a subject of ongoing research, but it largely coincides with the arrival of the first humans in Australia. The disappearance of its primary large prey species, driven by climate change or human hunting, led to a cascading effect on Megalania populations. As the large herbivores it depended on became scarce, so too did the food supply for this massive predator. Another significant hypothesis centers on direct human impact. Early human settlers in Australia were skilled hunters, and it is plausible that they actively hunted Megalania, or that human activities, such as burning practices to manage landscapes, indirectly impacted Megalania's habitat and prey base. The vulnerability of large, slow-reproducing predators to changes in their environment and to human pressures is a recurring theme in the history of megafaunal extinctions. The disappearance of Megalania marks the end of an era when giant reptiles ruled the Australian landscape, leaving behind a fossil legacy that continues to fascinate and inform our understanding of prehistoric life. From the frigid steppes dominated by mammoths and the cunning predators of the north, we now shift our focus to the southern continent of South America, a land that during the Ice Age hosted some of the most extraordinary and unique megafauna. Among these was a creature of truly astonishing scale, a gentle giant that defied easy categorization, the giant ground sloth, Megatherium americanum. Megatherium, meaning great beast, was an apt name for this colossal animal. It was a member of the Xenarthra family, an ancient lineage of mammals that also includes modern-day armadillos and anteaters. The earliest forms of ground sloths appeared in the early Pliocene, with Megatherium americanum evolving much later, primarily flourishing from approximately 400,000 to 8,000 years ago, primarily across the Pampas region of Argentina and extending into southern Bolivia. In terms of sheer physical presence, Megatherium americanum was nothing short of immense. It was comparable in size to a modern elephant, making it one of the largest land mammals of its time. These behemoths could weigh up to 4 tons and, when standing on their hind legs, could reach a towering height of 3.5 meters. Its robust skeleton supported this enormous bulk, giving it a powerful, almost barrel-like body. Unlike its smaller, arboreal sloth cousins of today, Megatherium was built for life on the ground, possessing immensely strong limbs and a thick, powerful tail that acted as a counterbalance, and a third leg when it adopted a bipedal stance. This ability to stand upright was a remarkable adaptation, making it potentially the largest bipedal animal of its era. Despite its peaceful, herbivorous nature, the giant ground sloth was far from defenseless. Its most formidable protective features were its surprisingly strong claws. Each foot was equipped with long, powerful claws, particularly on the forelimbs, with the largest claw on its third finger reaching up to 20 inches in length. While these claws were primarily used for foraging, stripping leaves and branches from tall trees, they also served as a potent deterrent against potential predators. A swipe from a Megatherium's claw would have delivered a devastating blow, capable of inflicting severe injury or even death. Its sheer size was also its primary defense. Adult ground sloths had very few natural predators that could successfully challenge them. They were primarily a herbivore. While some theories suggest it may have scavenged or even hunted small animals, the consensus based on fossil evidence, including teeth and preserved feces, points to a diet primarily consisting of plants. Primarily a browser, it utilized its enormous size and bipedal posture to great effect. Standing on its hind legs, it could reach high into the canopy of trees, using its powerful claws to pull down branches and strip leaves. Isotopic analysis of its fossilized remains has consistently confirmed a predominantly vegetarian diet, indicating that its digestive system was adapted to processing large quantities of plant matter. Its movement was slow and deliberate, a characteristic trait of many large herbivores that rely on sheer bulk rather than speed for defense. Based on comparisons with similarly sized mammals, it is estimated that they lived for several decades. Their reproductive cycle likely involved a long gestation period and the birth of a single slow-developing offspring, a common characteristic of large mammals. This slow reproductive rate would later prove to be a vulnerability in the face of rapid environmental change and increasing pressures from new predators. Megatherium played a significant ecological role in shaping the vegetation of its environment. By consuming large quantities of leaves, twigs, and branches, particularly from taller plants, they would have acted as natural landscape modifiers, similar to modern elephants. Their browsing habits could have prevented the unchecked growth of certain plant species, promoting greater biodiversity and influencing the structure of forests and woodlands. While adult Megatherium faced few threats, juvenile ground sloths would have been vulnerable to the large carnivores of the South American Ice Age, such as the formidable saber-toothed cats and dire wolves that also roamed the continent. However, as they matured, their immense size became their ultimate defense, making them largely impervious to predation from other animals. Their slow movements meant they could not escape threats by fleeing. Instead, they would have relied on their powerful claws and sheer bulk to deter any attacker. The interaction with humans marked a pivotal moment in the history of the giant ground sloth. As human populations expanded into South America towards the end of the Pleistocene, they encountered these impressive creatures. Archaeological evidence, including distinctive fish-tail projectile points found in association with sloth remains and butchery marks on their bones, strongly suggests that early humans hunted Megatherium. While a single sloth represented a massive source of food, its immense size and potentially formidable defense would have made hunting it a dangerous undertaking, likely requiring coordinated group efforts. The slow demise of the gentle behemoth occurred around 12,000 to 8,000 years ago, coinciding with the end of the last ice age and the onset of the Holocene. The extinction of the giant ground sloth, like many other megafauna, was likely a complex interplay of factors. Climate change, leading to shifts in vegetation and habitat, undoubtedly played a role. Their slow reproductive rate meant they could not quickly recover from population losses inflicted by hunting pressure. As their numbers dwindled, the giant ground sloth, a symbol of South America's prehistoric majesty, slowly faded from the planet, leaving behind only their fossilized bones as a testament to their extraordinary existence. The stories of these deadliest creatures are more than just tales of extinct giants. They are echoes from a frozen world that resonate with critical lessons for our own time. For millions of years, these magnificent creatures adapted, thrived, and dominated their ecosystems. Their extinction, however, was not a singular event driven by one simple cause. Instead, it was a complex interplay of forces and the arrival of a new, highly adaptable species, Homo sapiens. As the planet transitioned out of the last glacial period, temperatures rose, ice sheets retreated, and vast grasslands gave way to new biomes. The familiar habitats and food sources that sustained the megafauna began to shrink or disappear. For animals exquisitely specialized to a particular environment, these rapid shifts were devastating. Simultaneously, human populations grew, and our hunting technologies advanced. We were not merely another predator, we were an unparalleled force, capable of coordinated efforts and armed with projectile weapons that could bring down even the largest of beasts. The archaeological record increasingly reveals the impact of human hunting, from butchery marks on sloth bones to the widespread presence of spear points alongside mammoth remains. Beyond direct predation, human activities, such as landscape burning, also indirectly impacted ecosystems, altering the very vegetation that sustained the megafauna. The tale of these giants serves as a powerful reminder of how interconnected life on Earth truly is. The disappearance of a key herbivore could cascade through the food web, leading to the decline of predators that relied on them, as perhaps seen in the increasing dental pathologies of dire wolves, indicating food stress. Today, as our planet faces its own era of rapid climate change and unprecedented human impact, the echoes of the Ice Age are more pertinent than ever. The extinction patterns of these ancient titans offer a stark historical analog to the biodiversity crisis we witness in the present. It highlights the urgent need to protect existing habitats, mitigate climate change, and manage human interactions with wildlife to prevent further irreversible losses. The fossil record, meticulously unearthed and studied, is not just a collection of ancient bones. It is an invaluable library of Earth's past. It allows us to piece together the intricate tapestry of prehistoric life, revealing the evolutionary pathways, ecological relationships, and ultimate fates of these magnificent creatures. Through this ongoing scientific discovery, we gain not only knowledge, but also a deeper appreciation for the resilience of life and the profound responsibility we bear as the dominant species on this planet. The wisdom from the Ice Age is clear. The future of life on Earth depends on our capacity to learn from the past and to act with foresight in the present.